Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And hey, yes, sir.
Arthur, where are you? Hey, over here! Arthur, did you get over here at once? This is no time for your foolishness. Follow you? Why should I do that, you bucket of bolts? How dare you call me that? I should have you deactivated. Fine. Go that way, you nearsighted scrapper. You'll soon wish he'd listened to me, that malfunctioning little rust bucket. Arthur, is that you? Oh, thank heavens. I thought I would never find you. And where have you been? I told you not to wander off. Apologize. Whatever for? Why, you ungrateful Rusty. I've a good mind to... Leave without me? You wouldn't dare. Oh, all right, if it will make you act reasonably, I apologize. What for? You know very well what for. You're the...
Go.
Oh, very well. I apologize for calling you names. Yes, all of the names. Now, let's get home before our power cells run down. Arthur, where are you? Hey, over here! Arthur, did you get over here at once? This is no time for your foolishness. Follow you? Why should I do that, you bucket of bolts? How dare you call me that? I should have you deactivated. Fine. Go that way, you nearsighted scrapper. You'll soon wish he'd listened to me, that malfunctioning little rust bucket.
Hi, everybody. What? What are you doing, buddy? Really, dogs?
We got her all painted.
Cool.
Go look at it.
I will there in a second. Ah, you gotta be kidding me.
Skywalker has been defeated. Inform Lord Vader.
You have an opportunity to finally make that Wookiee play. Do not fail.
Can you turn my light on, Daddy? Thank you, Daddy. Crap.
Crapping about what?
I just like saying it.
The Wookiee is down. I say again, the Wookiee is down.
We have discovered the Jedi Skywalker is nearby. Show no mercy to that traitor.
Tartar sauce. Are you kidding me?
Now we will crush this rebellion.
The smuggler Han Solo is in your quadrant. Our spies have tracked Luke Skywalker to a nearby location.
Skywalker has been defeated.
Sensors indicate the alien 9-Num is nearby. Terminate him. My numb has been dealt with. Our probe droids have located Skywalker. He is nearby. Be ready to deal with him. Urso, a known troublemaker, is in the vicinity. Track her down and finish her. Urso's been dealt with.
Skywalker has been spotted near your position. The Emperor wants Skywalker defeated.
Skywalker has been defeated. Friendly fire! Friendly fire! Take those traitors out!
I have a really bad feeling about this.
Your droid has picked up the Millennium Falcon signal. Beware, Solo's nearby.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
So if you get to 31 degrees, you're going to accumulate ice.
Oklahoma City, they've upped the ante to ice storm warnings, especially for the overnight hours.
Yes, and you can see this big batch of precipitation working. Former
chair of the Democratic National Committee, Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, asked Comey repeatedly why he never called her personally to inform her that the DNC's servers may have been breached by the Russians. Comey balked, eventually admitting, no, we didn't. Georgia Congressman Hank Johnson.
There was some heat. There was some heat.
The FBI and President-elect Trump have suggested the DNC was lax and uncooperative.
They did a very poor job.
But DNC officials tell CBS News that from September of 2015 until April of 2016, the only person the FBI spoke to at the DNC was an outside vendor who provided IT services. Hackers began posting the stolen emails online in June. The unguarded exchanges cost Wasserman Schultz her chairmanship. Clinton campaign chair John Podesta's emails were posted 3 months later.
I don't see this president-elect as a legitimate president.
Georgia Congressman and civil rights icon John Lewis made that startling statement to NBC.
I think the Russians participated in helping this man get elected, and they helped destroy the candidacy of Hillary Clinton.
He and at least 7 other Democrats have announced they will boycott next Friday's inauguration. One of them is Arizona's Raul Grijalva.
I will be at home in Arizona.
Democrats accused Comey today of a double standard, speaking publicly about the Clinton investigation pre-election, even as he stayed mum about Russia's attempts to help Donald Trump. But, Scott, they've been reluctant to call on Comey to step down for fear of who Mr. Trump might choose to replace him.
And the White House said today the president does not believe that Comey was attempting to influence the election. Nancy Cordes for us on Capitol Hill. Nance, thank you. Also today, the nation's second largest police force has been accused of systemic bias and brutality. The U.S. Justice Department investigation is a step in reforming Chicago's police, and Dean Reynolds is there.
The Justice Department probe was launched amid an uproar over the killing of a black youth by a white Chicago cop, who fired 16 times because he said the 17-year-old was a threat. It's the kind of excessive force that today's report suggests was a pattern or practice going back decades that included civil rights violations, racial bias, and deficient training of officers. A practice, the report said, that unnecessarily endangers themselves and others, and that results in unnecessary and avoidable shootings. The scathing report found deep distrust within the very crime-ridden neighborhoods from which police need the most cooperation to be effective. It also showed police use force almost 10 times more often against blacks than against whites. Attorney General Loretta Lynch.
All of these issues are compounded by poor supervision and oversight, leading to low officer morale and an erosion in officer accountability.
The city will now engage in negotiations on what's called a consent decree to work out the improvements the Justice Department is seeking. Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel.
This is a moment of truth for the city. This is not going to be changed. It's going to be done overnight. We're on the road to reform. There's no U-turning back.
The Chicago report comes a day after an agreement to reform the Baltimore police, one of 25 departments nationwide investigated during the Obama administration.
But, Scott, the future of these investigations may be in some doubt. Jeff Sessions, the nominee to be the next Attorney General, has indicated he dislikes consent decrees because he said they unfairly malign whole police departments over the actions of a few bad officers.
Dean Reynolds in Chicago tonight. Dean, thank you. For the second time this week, criminal charges have been brought against top auto executives. 3 former officers of Takata were indicted today for allegedly covering up a deadly defect in millions of airbags. 11 people have been killed by the defect just in the U.S. On Wednesday, 6 Volkswagen executives were indicted for allegedly programming cars to cheat on clean air tests. Chris Van Cleve tells us that the airbag defects were known for years.
The Department of Justice alleges the cover-up began more than 16 years ago. The 3 Takata executives' new test results showed their airbag inflators could explode, sending shrapnel into drivers and passengers. The defect has prompted the largest safety recall in U.S. history.
the risk that they allowed to happen is really reprehensible.
U.S. Attorney Barbara McQuaid said the executives put profit ahead of safety.
These three Takata executives routinely discussed in email messages the need to falsify reports to its customers. They referred in their emails to this process as Xing the data.
According to court documents, in February 2005, one executive emailed the others to say they had no choice but to manipulate the data. Another wrote in June of that year they needed to cross the bridge together. In addition, Takata has agreed to plead guilty to felony wire fraud and pay $1 billion in penalties.
I'm going to be really there and not talk to me when I try to talk to her anymore. It's really hard.
Paige Hayes' grandmother, Patricia Mincy, was paralyzed after her defective airbag overinflated in a minor crash in 2014. Mincy died due to complications from her injuries in April. The family's lawyer, Ted Leopold, said today's announcement is just a start.
I think there is still more to be done, not only looking towards the Japanese company, but also looking at individuals involved in the U.S. Takata entity as well.
Takata says it deeply regrets the circumstances that have led to this situation. Scott, the three executives live in Japan, and prosecutors are working to extradite them to the U.S.
Chris Van Cleve in Washington. A massive ice storm is expected to coat the roads this weekend from the Texas Panhandle to Pennsylvania. Omar Villafranca is in Hominy, Oklahoma tonight. Omar?
Tens of millions of people are in the path of this winter blast. Oklahoma's governor declared a state of emergency yesterday so crews could start prepping roads. And there's already some ice that's starting to form. You can see it here on this fence. That can pose a problem if it gets on power lines because it can snap the power lines. Just up the road in Joplin, Missouri, that winter storm blew through and left a coat of ice all across the city. Icicles were hanging off signs. The area was covered in a thin layer of ice, making roads very slippery. Drivers in the Show Me State also have to keep an eye out for this. Trees toppled by ice that end up blocking the road. Road crews have been busy for hours throughout the Midwest, salting and sanding major roadways to keep them passable. The weather is affecting the NFL's weekend game even before kickoff. The contest between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Pittsburgh Steelers in Kansas City has been turned from a day game to a night game. That will give road crews more time to prep those roads and make it safer for fans. Scott?
Omar Villafranca in the Sooner State today. Omar, thank you. We noticed a new national poll today in which 82% of Americans describe Russia as a threat, and that is up 6% since U.S. intelligence said it caught the Russians red-handed meddling in the election. Well, all of this made us wonder just how dirty politics can get in Russia itself. So we asked Elizabeth Palmer to find out.
This is the video that changed Natalia Pelavina's life. An opposition activist, she was the secret lover of Mikhail Kasyanov, a married former Russian prime minister turned critic of and challenger to President Putin. Neither of them knew about the tiny camera hidden in the bedroom wall.
You have to have a file, as we say in Russia, on everybody.
9 months later, and still active in the opposition, she has no doubt Russia's security services recorded the video and leaked it to national TV to damage the opposition.
When the film came out, and the very first frame I saw, and I saw myself in that bedroom, everything became clear, and it all just came together.
Did you feel sick?
I felt numb.
Did it ruin your life for some time?
Well, I wouldn't give them that pleasure, no. I would say it definitely affected my life, and not just for a period of time, but forever.
The spying didn't stop, and Natalia still feels targeted and exposed. This week, Donald Trump said if Putin likes Donald Trump, that's an asset, not a liability. But, says Natalia, with Putin, like has nothing to do with it.
Think of him as somebody who has been violating the rights of his own people for a long time now, and who is potentially very dangerous globally.
As for Natalia's own case, Scott, she says at least in another country she'd be able to sue the TV station that broadcast the video. But here in Russia, there's no rule of law, and nobody takes on the security services and wins.
Elizabeth Palmer at the Kremlin Wall tonight. Elizabeth, thank you. Well, no one has been interviewed on 60 Minutes more often than Barack Obama. It's not even close. He will make his 18th appearance this Sunday with Steve Broad. Steve talked to the president about his wife and daughters.
How do they feel? They're ready to go. I mean, the girls, obviously, they are now of an age in which the constraints of Secret Service and bubbles and all that stuff has gotten pretty old. Michelle never fully took to the scrutiny. I mean, she's thrived as a first lady, but it's not her preference. And so
she was the hardest sell.
She was the hardest sell, and she never fully embraced being in the public spotlight, which is ironic given how good she is. Having said that, she would acknowledge, and I certainly feel
How much longer, Mama?
We just have a lot of memories here. Our kids grew up here. Some of our best friends have been made here in this place. There have been moments that were highlights for us.
I threw it good. Why didn't you catch it?
They're going to be hard to duplicate. So
she's glad you did it, though.
She is now. I think I've said this story before. She used to say to our friends, Barack's exactly the kind of guy I want to be president. Just wish he didn't want to do it and I was married to him. So
but you're still all right. I mean, everything's okay.
So far, as far as I know. I better check later. Yeah.
Steve Broad with President Obama. That is this Sunday on 60 Minutes. Coming up next on the CBS Evening News, justice for a generation of veterans exposed to toxic water on their own base.
Hey, Dad.
Hey, sweetie. How was your first week?
Well,
It'll get better. I'm at the Edward Jones office, like Sue suggested.
thanks for doing this, Dad. So I thought it might be time to talk about a financial strategy. You mean pay him back?
Knowing your future is about more than just you.
So let's start talking about your long-term goals.
Multiplied by 14,000 financial advisors. It's a big deal. And it's how Edward Jones makes sense in investing.
If you have postmenopausal osteoporosis and a high risk for fracture, I can tell you Proly is proven to help protect bones from fracture. But the real proof? My doctor said Prolia helped my bones get stronger. Are your bones getting stronger?
Do not take Prolia if you have low blood calcium, are pregnant, are allergic to it, or take Exhiba. Serious allergic reactions such as low blood pressure, trouble breathing, throat tightness, face, lip, or tongue swelling, rash, itching, or hives have happened in people taking Prolia. Tell your doctor about dental problems, as severe jawbone problems may happen, or new or unusual pain in your hip, groin, or thigh, as unusual thigh bone fractures have occurred. Prolia can cause serious side effects, including low blood calcium, serious infections, which could require hospitalization, skin problems, and severe bone, joint, or muscle pain. Only Prolia helps strengthen and protect bones with 2 shots a year.
I have proof Prolia works for me. Can it work for you? Ask your doctor about Prolia today.
What's better than $5,000 a week for life? The Publishers Clearinghouse $5,000 a week forever prize. Win $5,000 a week for your life. Then after that, someone you choose gets $5,000 a week for their life. Enter at PCH.com on February 24th. Win forever.
Abdominal pain, bloating. You may have IBS. Ask your doctor if non-prescription IB-Guard is right for you. IB-Guard calms the angry gut. Available in the digestive aisle at CVS, Walgreens, and Rite Aid.
Today, the Department of Veterans Affairs said it will pay more than $2 billion in disability benefits to a generation of vets who worked at the Camp Lejeune Marine Base in North Carolina. They and their families have suffered the wounds of an unseen enemy. And Mark Strassman has their story.
There's no doubt that the people at Camp Lejeune were poisoned.
Retired Master Sergeant Jerry Emsinger was stationed at Camp Lejeune when his daughter Janie was conceived in 1975. Janie died of leukemia when she was 9.
Yeah, I can't tell you the level of frustration that has engulfed me over these years. None of this is going to help Jamie. Jamie's dead.
For more than 30 years, fuel and dry cleaning chemicals seeped into Camp Lejeune's primary water system, starting in the early 1950s. Since then, numerous studies have concluded the water was highly contaminated, with chemicals linked to 8 diseases. Now the VA will begin offering disability payouts for veterans exposed to the contaminated water who later contracted those diseases.
What kind of significant illness did you have?
Bladder cancer, stage 4.
Retired Marine Corporal Marvin Paul was stationed at Camp Lejeune for 3 years in the early 60s.
It's giving me hope that maybe they will go back and try to correct some of the mistakes they made so long ago.
Mistakes that affected as many as 900,000 service members and their families.
I feel like if they had notified some of us years ago, we could have been screened for some of these conditions and probably prevented them.
Marines and their families drank, cooked, and washed with contaminated water for years. An unknown number died from diseases now linked to that water. Scott, the VA's first cash payouts will come in March.
Mark Strassman for us tonight. Mark, thank you. Still ahead, the Bush twins advise the Obama sisters on life after the White House.
I have asthma, one of many pieces in my life. So when my asthma symptoms kept coming back on my long-term control medicine, I talked to my doctor and found a missing piece in my asthma treatment with Brio.
Once daily Brio prevents asthma symptoms. Brio's for adults with asthma not well controlled on a long-term asthma control medicine, like an inhaled corticosteroid. Brio won't replace a rescue inhaler for sudden breathing problems. Brio is specifically designed to open up airways to improve breathing for a full 24 hours. Brio contains a type of medicine that increases the risk of death from asthma problems and may increase the risk of hospitalization in children and adolescents. Brio is not for people whose asthma is well controlled on a long-term asthma control medicine, like an inhaled corticosteroid. Once your asthma is well controlled, your doctor will decide if you can stop Brio and prescribe a different asthma control medicine, like an inhaled corticosteroid. Do not take Brio more than prescribed. See your doctor if your asthma does not improve or gets worse.
Ask your doctor if 24-hour Brio could be a missing piece for you. Learn more about better breathing at mybrio.com.
When's the last time you slept on a king-size bed with so many pillows? When's the last time someone made you an omelet, pancakes, muffins, and sausage for breakfast? When's the last time you stole shampoo? I will now create an awkward pause so that you can really reflect on it. It's been a while, huh? Visit Trivago to find your ideal hotel for the best price. Hotel Trivago.
Your body was made for better things than rheumatoid arthritis. Before you and your rheumatologist move to another treatment, ask if Xeljanz is right for you. Xeljanz is a small pill for adults with moderate to severe RA, for whom methotrexate did not work well. Xeljanz can reduce joint pain and swelling in as little as 2 weeks and help stop further joint damage. Xeljanz can lower your ability to fight infections, including tuberculosis. Serious, sometimes fatal infections, lymphoma, and other cancers have happened. Don't start Xeljanz if you have an infection. Tears in the stomach or intestines, low blood cell counts, and higher liver tests and cholesterol levels have happened. Your doctor should perform blood tests before you start and while taking Xeljanz, and monitor certain liver tests. Tell your doctor if you are in a region where fungal infections are common, and if you have had TB, hepatitis B or C, or are prone to infections. Xeljanz can reduce the symptoms of RA, even without methotrexate, and is also available in a once-daily pill. Ask about Xeljanz XR.
Help settle a score. Has got my money and my family. One Reagan gets caught in the crossfire. New Blue Bloods, CBS tonight. If you had to disappear, where would you go?
We gotta get out of this city.
And what would you be willing to do along the way?
I'm deleting my social media account.
We need to find them now.
18 ordinary people will go on the run from a team of expert hunters.
This is the most insane experience of my life.
Hunted premieres January 22nd.
I apologize for calling you names.
Today, the U.S. Mint showed us a new gold coin that depicts Lady Liberty as a black woman. American currency has always depicted her as white. The 24-karat commemorative coin will cost more than its $100 face value. It weighs an ounce, which is about $1,200 tonight. It goes on sale in April. 8 years ago, Barbara and Jenna Bush welcomed Sasha and Malia Obama to their new home, taking them into the Lincoln bedroom and the White House movie theater, and encouraging them to slide down the banister in the solarium. Well, today the Bush twins shared these photos of that meeting and their new advice to the Obama sisters as they leave the White House. Explore your passions. Learn who you are. Make mistakes. Your parents will be rooting for you, and so will we. We're rooting for Steve Hartman, coming next.
Tonight's On the Road segment is sponsored by One A Day 50 Plus.
Americans, 83% try to eat healthy, yet up to 90% fall short in getting key nutrients from food alone. Let's do more. Add One A Day 50 Plus, a complete multivitamin with 100% daily value of more than 15 key nutrients. One A Day 50 Plus.
I use artificial tears often. But when my eye doctor said I had a disease, that got my attention. You have a disease called chronic dry eye, caused by reduced tear production due to inflammation. You need Restasis, cyclosporin ophthalmic emulsion. Artificial tears give temporary relief, but with continued use, 1 drop in each eye twice a day, every day. Restasis helps increase your eye's natural ability to produce tears, which may be reduced by inflammation due to chronic dry eye. Restasis did not increase tear production in patients using anti-inflammatory eye drops or tear duct plugs. To help avoid eye injury and contamination, do not touch the vial tip to your eye or other surfaces. Contact lenses should not be worn within 15 minutes of using Restasis. The most common side effect is a temporary burning sensation. Call your eye doctor to get screened and ask about Restasis.
Would you like to win the Publishers Clearinghouse $5,000 a week forever prize? $5,000 a week for your life. Then after that, someone you choose gets $5,000 a week for their life. Enter at PCH.com. February 24th. Win forever.
I use what's already inside me to reach my goals. So I like when my doctor told me I may reach my blood sugar and A1C goals by activating what's within me. With once weekly Trulicity. Trulicity is not insulin. It helps activate my body to do what it's supposed to do, release its own insulin. Trulicity responds when my blood sugar rises. I take it once a week, and it works 24/7. It comes in an easy-to-use pen, and I may even lose a little weight.
Trulicity is a once-weekly injectable prescription medicine to improve blood sugar in adults with type 2 diabetes when used with diet and exercise. Trulicity is not insulin. It should not be the first medicine to treat diabetes or for people with type 1 diabetes or diabetic ketoacidosis. Do not take Trulicity if you or a family member has had medullary thyroid cancer, if you've had multiple endocrine neoplasia syndrome type 2, or if you are allergic to Trulicity. Stop Trulicity and call your doctor right away if you have symptoms such as itching, rash, or trouble breathing, a lump or swelling in your neck, or severe pain in your stomach area. Serious side effects may include pancreatitis, which can be fatal. Taking Trulicity with a sulfonylurea or insulin increases your risk for low blood sugar. Common side effects include nausea, diarrhea, vomiting, decreased appetite, and indigestion. Some side effects can lead to dehydration, which may make existing kidney problems worse.
With Trulicity, I click to activate what's within me.
If you want help improving your A1C and blood sugar numbers with a non-insulin option, click to activate your within. Ask your doctor about once-weekly Trulicity.
President Obama talks about his 8 years in the White House like you've never heard before.
What are your memories of this office? What's going to stick in your mind?
Sunday on 60 Minutes.
We end tonight with a dream kept on ice for decades. Here's Steve Hartman on the road.
It is one of the least glamorous jobs in the National Hockey League. Showing up before the players, washing away yesterday's dirt and grime, picking up after those too talented to bother for themselves. And yet, Carolina Hurricanes equipment manager George Alves says there is nowhere else he'd rather be.
If I had to sweep floors and clean trash and, just to be around them, then I did that, yeah.
As a kid growing up outside Boston, George dreamed of being a goalie in the NHL.
But he was the child of janitors, and goalie equipment was expensive.
I knew my parents couldn't afford it either, so came across a tennis racket, which happened to be my goalie stick, and National Geographics strapped to my legs.
Strapped to your legs for pads.
And that's how it started.
He eventually got on his high school team, and after a stint in the Marines, tried to make it in the minors. Repeatedly.
Seems like every picture in a different uniform.
Yeah, it's what I had to do.
He stopped chasing the dream only after he started chasing kids.
Oh, what you got? What you got?
Once Madison and Jackson were born, George knew he needed a real job, and he's been equipment manager ever since.
Sorry for the distraction, boys.
Until recently.
Last month, just a few hours before a game, Carolina's backup goalie got sick. Now, normally that's not a problem. You just bring someone up from the minors. But this was so close to game time. The Hurricanes had no choice.
So I called my wife. She's like, "Hey, what's going on?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just getting ready for the game, and I'm dressing tonight." She sounded so happy for me and everything.
Moments later, the guy responsible for cleaning everyone else's dirty uniforms had a bright new one of his own, with his name on the back. Of course, George sat the whole game, until the very end.
I thought the game was over. I got up, started heading back towards the locker room, and I heard George.
This is one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
Turns out there were 7 seconds left.
That is awesome.
Carolina was down by 2, so it didn't really matter for the score, and those 7 seconds passed unremarkably. But for George Alves, he can now say he played in the NHL.
Working hard and staying committed to something, it can really make your dream come true.
He may not be a pro athlete, but he is exactly what kids should aspire to be. Steve Hartman, on the road, in Raleigh, North Carolina.
And that's the CBS Evening News for tonight.
That's pretty cool, Daddy.
CBS News all around the world. I'm Scott Pelley, and I'll see you Sunday on 60 Minutes. Good night.
The Big Bang Theory, weeknights at 7.
Do you know the signs of a heart attack? Symptoms vary for men and women and should never be ignored. Uncomfortable pressure, squeezing, fullness or pain in the chest, pain or discomfort in one or both arms, the back, neck, jaw, or stomach, shortness of breath, with or without chest discomfort, cold sweat, nausea, or lightheadedness. If you see these signs, call 911 immediately. This health tip is brought to you by 9 and 10 News and McLaren, Northern Michigan.
I knew your auto sensors are detecting me.
Heroin and drinking all day. His eyes were bugging out. His pupils were real constricted. He appeared to be way out there, not very coherent. A lot of times guys like this don't understand the danger that they put ourselves and the public at risk. They don't even think about it. This guy, obviously under the influence of drugs, didn't care. The sheriff's office and Mesa PD worked together in stopping him and keeping it from anybody else getting hurt.
Viewer discretion is advised.